Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, text number 21. Pitra Bhratra Surat Putra Hataste Vigatam Vayam Atma Chajarya Grashta Parageham Upasase Pitra Bhatra Surat Putra Hataste Vigatam Vayam Atma Chajarya Grasta Parageham Upasase Pitra Bhratra Surat Putra Hataste Vigatam Vayam Atma Chajarya Grasta Parageham Upasase Pitra Bhatra Surat Putra Hataste Vigatam Vayam Atma Chajarya Grasta Parageham Upasase Pitra Bhratra Surat Putra Hataste Vigatam Vayam Atma Chajarya Grasta Parageham Upasase Pitra Bhratra Surat Putra Hataste Vigatam Vayam Atma Chajarya Grasta Parageham Upasase Pitra Bhratra Surat Putra Hataste Vigatam Vayam Atma Chajarya Grasta Parageham Upasase. One last. Pitra Bhratra Surat Putra Hataste Vigatam Vayam Atma Chajarya Grasta Parageham Upasase. Pitra, father. Bhratra, brother. Surat, well-wishers. Putra, sons. Hata, all dead. Te, yours. Vigatam, expended. Vayam, age. Atma, the body. Cha, also. Jaraya, invalidity. Grastaha, overcome. Parageham, another's home. Upasase, you do live. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Your father, brother, well-wishers and sons are all dead and passed away. You yourself have expended the major portion of your life. Your body is now overtaken by invalidity and you're living in the home of another. Purport. The king is reminded of his precarious condition influenced by cruel time, and by his past experience, he should have been more intelligent to see what was going to happen to his own life. His father, Vichitravirya, died long ago when he and his younger brothers were all little children. And it was due to the care and kindness of Bhishmadev that they were properly brought up. Then again his brother Pandu died also. Then in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, his 100 sons and grandsons all died, all along with all other well-wishers like Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, Karna and many other kings and friends. So he had lost all men and money, and now he was living at the mercy of his nephew, whom he had put into troubles of various types. And despite all these reverses, he thought that he would prolong his life more and more. Vidura wanted to point out to Dhṛtarāṣṭra that everyone has to protect himself by his action and by the grace of the Lord. One has to execute his duty faithfully, depending for the results on the supreme authority. No friend, no children, no father, no brother, no state, and no one else can protect a person who is protected by the Supreme Lord. One should therefore seek the protection of the Supreme Lord, for the human form of life is meant for seeking that protection. Dhṛtarāṣṭra was warned of his precarious conditions more and more by the following words. Om Jnanam Dinamdasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddha Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sarvana Raghunatham Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahavana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpata Rubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavunebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we can see in this particular chapter, a lot of incidents have been narrated which will lead up to the coronation of Maharaj Parikshit. So even though Vidura was insulted by Dhṛtarāṣṭra and he went on a pilgrimage, he came back out of compassion for his misguided brother. So he comes back and he was very joyfully received when he returned. But then Vidura is now trying every little thing. He's using his harsh words, cutting words to actually get into Dhṛtarāṣṭra's mind and heart so that the message can be communicated, so that he gets the point. Because despite all the problems that he has faced, Dhṛtarāṣṭra is not seeming to understand that his situation is going to be no different. So Vidura is now opting for the harsh words, the cutting words to get into, to pierce, so that those words pierce into his heart. Just like us, right, with our kids or even with our own parents or parents with us, they'll try to explain it to us nicely. Then they'll try to explain it to us by different ways. They'll try to lure us by telling us what's going to happen if you don't do this. And then, if nothing works, gosh, Neil, you cannot eat chocolates. I'm not going to let you eat chocolates. It's not going to happen. You can just go and sit in the room. So we use harsh words. The words automatically changes because we are well-wishers. Similarly, Vidura is well-wisher of Dhṛtarāṣṭra and he wants the best to happen to Dhṛtarāṣṭra. So we are on shloka number 21, but we can see 18 to 28 especially are where Vidura chastises Dhṛtarāṣṭra. So in the previous verse in 18, we saw that Vidura says that fear has overtaken you. So just get out of here, get out of this material world. Then 19 to 20 is where Vidura says, Lord is Kala and he has approached all of us. So Lord is not different from time. And everyone has to surrender everything, including your own life, to Krishna, to the Lord. And then 21 and 22, which we are on at the moment, he's saying that all your relatives have died, sons have died, your grandsons have died, and the symptoms of old age are appearing to you as well now. So you don't have to be blinded. Then we'll go on to see in 23 and 24, he is going to say, you're living like a dog of Bhima. You're living like a dog of Bhima. No need to live such a degraded life. And then 25 to 28 are going to be verses where Vidura says, you are a Karpana, not an Narottama. Become Dhīra and leave for north. Leave for your pilgrimage. So that's what Vidura is going to say. So we can see that 18 to 28 are especially very instructive verses for Dhṛtarāṣṭra. So the first thought that came to my mind was how fortunate is Dhṛtarāṣṭra that he has Vidura in his life. Right? He's got Vidura. We all blinded like Dhṛtarāṣṭra. Yesterday, Vrajadipika Mataji raised the question, if we are Dhṛtarāṣṭra or Vidura, right? Metaphorically. And I was thinking, we are all Dhṛtarāṣṭras, we are all blinded, we never accept that we are diseased in a diseased state of life. And we all have so many Viduras in our life as well. Starting from Srila Prabhupada, he comes as Vidura, he's telling us, guiding us through Srīmad Bhāgavatam. We've got senior devotees around us, mentors around us, sannyasis around us, who are constantly reminding us. And if even that's not working, has it happened to you when you open a book, a Bhagavad Gita, it comes on exactly with the page, what you're going through in your life? I'm sure it's happened to all of us. So those pages act as Vidura, those pages come into our life to guide us. So similarly, Vidura is coming into Dhṛtarāṣṭra's life to guide him. So Dhṛtarāṣṭra in that sort of way is very, very fortunate. I remember we had once gone to an old age home for mantras and mantra meditation along with Rajdam Prabhu, Nilesh, Lakshmi and myself. We had gone there and it was a beautiful session. They were completely bedridden people there. They were still clapping, chanting, smiling. All they wanted was someone has come to visit them. And towards the end of the session, I asked Rajdam Prabhu, what did you think about this session? And he said, the session was really nice. And I wish someday when I grow old and I lose all my memory, there's someone who comes to me just like that and chants and reminds me of Krishna. Right? So when we go on street as well, in that sort of way we act as we remind people of Krishna. So in that way we get inspired by Vidura to remind people of Krishna and their condition in life. So we play both roles. So we have to say which role are we playing more. Now the very first sentence in the purport over here says the king is reminded of his precarious condition by Vidura. Similarly, we are reminded of our precarious condition time and time again, like I just said. So yes, this material world, the material miseries are bound to happen. If a stone is put into the water, the stone is bound to get wet. And if the soul comes into this material world, the miseries are bound to happen, just like the stone gets wet in the water. At that time, all we need is some sort of spiritual orientation when we are going through those material miseries. It is said in Isha Upanishad Mantra 11. So there are 18 mantras in that book. The 11th mantra says, Vidayam cha yas tadvido bhayam saya avidyaya mrityam tirtva vidya amritam ashnute. The translation is, only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So we are immortal souls, and to enjoy the full blessings, we have to take shelter of this knowledge. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain, why do we suffer, why do we struggle with material miseries? We get these material miseries so that we understand how incompatible are we with this world. That's why the miseries come to us again and again, so that we get the understanding we are not compatible with this world at all. Though we try to find compatibility with our spouses, with our friends, with our own children, what's so much in common as they grow older, with the world around us, with the place we live in, we will again and again will be put into the condition where we realize we are not compatible. It's almost like, there was an example I was thinking of. Anyways, I'll come back to it. It's just gone out of my head. But again, these are reminders, and Vidura is also reminding Dhṛtarāṣṭra. It comes as a reminder, it says in the purport. And then in the purport, it goes on to say that the king is reminded of the precarious condition influenced by the cruel time, and by his past experiences, he should have been more intelligent to see what was going to happen in his own life. So Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj says that up till the age of 23 or 22 or whatever that number is, around that age, the age and the knowledge is directly proportional. So for example, a grade 5 child will know more than a grade 1 child. Right? A person who has done his masters will most likely have more knowledge than a person who is in 8th grade. So it is directly proportional. But as we grow older, after that age, after we have completed our studies, after the age of 23, it's directly proportional to experience that we have in our life. So the knowledge is directly proportional to the experience we have in our life. So one would say, if I'm 60 years of age, obviously I have more experience, which means I'm more knowledgeable. So is that correct? No. It's not correct because Not always, yes. Because he says that experience, not just experience, it's experience that is reflected upon. So if we don't reflect on our experience is of no use to us. And then the knowledge is not increasing. So experience that is reflected upon, and then we take steps to work through whatever reflections we have, we take particular instructions from them, and then we work in our own life. That's when experience matters, otherwise experience is of no use. Actually, this whole, the Vidura talking about death and time and all those things, I have to admit, when I was not so young, I was about 14 years of age, still in my 12th grade, and my best friend, Nisha, my best friend then, her father had unexpectedly died out of heart attack. Very unexpected. We used to hang around together all the time, 10 hours a day. When her father died, I didn't call her up. I didn't go and meet her. And I completely cut ties with her. Now this is my best friend. I spent 10 hours with her. I completely cut ties with her because I was so scared of the word death. I was so scared of the whole phenomena that I was not available for her when she needed it the most. She never questioned me. She never came back to me. Years passed by. I joined this society of Krishna consciousness where we learn. The whole subject is learning the art of dying. It's all about those instructions. And as I started becoming more and more comfortable with the whole topic of death, it was only 2 years ago that I messaged my friend again. I caught her on Facebook. I messaged her again and I told her, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was not available for you. And she said, it's okay. And obviously years have passed by. But the whole concept of death is so uncomfortable, especially in India. It is so uncomfortable. We don't talk about it enough. Right? When I had initially joined ISKCON, and everyone talks about death, and I was the blunt person I am. My moms, I don't know if you've heard it, the moms would sometimes say, I don't know if you guys say it, but मैं मरूंगी तब तुम्हें मालूम पड़ेगा. Have you heard that? When I die, you will know, you will realize my importance. One time she said that, I was in Brisbane, she told me, when I will die, you will know. And I was like, yes, mom, everyone has to die. What's the big deal? Even I'm going to die, even you're going to die. We don't know who's going to die before. I was so shocked. After that, she's never told me that. That she's good, Never told me that what will happen when you'll realize the importance. And now, if we fast forward that as well, as we grow in maturity, as we grow in our understanding, just last year I was having a conversation with my grandma, Nani, and as we started talking over the phone, we started talking about Kunti Maharani. My Nani is very attached to the household responsibilities. So I was telling her, Nani, tell me, how long do you have to live? And she was like, I don't know, beta, maybe 5 years. I don't know anything, maybe tomorrow. I don't know anything. And I was like, even if you think if it's 5 years, why are you wasting your time? So we could have that mature conversation. But it is all thanks to Srila Prabhupada and the topics that he has introduced in Srimad Bhagavatam, which makes us so comfortable that we can nicely and openly talk about it. Right? And then I was telling my Nani, you don't know if I'm going to go before you. And she, because we had that conversation before, she never got emotional with that thing. Otherwise, my Nani would like just cry. Why do you have to touch such topics? Why do you say that you're going to die? You're so young. We don't talk about it on and on. But the point is, we have to be realistic. And we need to have those mature conversations. And I'm really grateful to Srila Prabhupada that we have such topics and we are preparing for such an important aspect in our life. The most serious element in our life. Right? So now we can see death as Krishna, we can see Krishna, we can see time as Krishna. Radhanath Swami says, when death will come, nobody can check. Death is God. When Krishna desires, this man should be killed now, no one can save him. And when Krishna desires, this man needs to be saved, no one can kill him. So, Rakhe Krishna Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke. So if Krishna desires to kill somebody, no one can give him protection. So over here, we can see in this particular purport that Dhṛtarāṣṭra should have realized that he won't get any more protection when he saw various other people leaving him in his own life. Even when Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, he was killed by Lord Ramachandra, even though he was a devotee of Lord Shiva himself. No one can protect. No one can protect. So it's all we are at the mercy. We are all at the mercy of Krishna. It's all Krishna's desire. And in the purport, we'll see that it says twice Srila Prabhupada has used the word that Dhṛtarāṣṭra wanted to prolong his life. What's the point of prolonging your life more and more? Right? One would think, why would someone want to prolong the life? But we have people around us who want to prolong the life. I think I've said this before. When I was in school one time, I was thinking, the topic I gave to them was, if you had a superpower and you had to come up with something, and it was 50% of the class or even more said, the superpower that I want is, I want to live forever. I don't want to die. And this is grade 5 kids who want to live forever. So they have the understanding that there is death, which is fantastic, but they want to live forever. I don't know if you've heard about Brian Johnson. Have you heard about him? He's in news lately. Yes. Brian Johnson. CEO of United. Yes, he's a CEO of this tech entrepreneur. He's a tech entrepreneur. He's a entire millionaire, and he is coming up with the formula how he's going to not die.
What's that Brian? I'm sure other Brian.
No, this is the other one. He doesn't know. His singular goal is don't die. And he's saying he's quite successful. He's already very successful. Now this man has spent $4 million developing a life extension system called Blueprint. He spends about $2 million a year just on his health. Every aspect of his health is being checked. He consumes about 59 pills a day. And there's a team of doctors who is continuously monitoring his health, his biological age. And he wears a baseball cap which shoots out red light every night for his scalp. His stool samples are collected every single day. He's sleeping with a tiny jetpack attached to himself, right, to monitor everything. And he thinks anything that's going on with him, things like anything that accelerates aging, like eating a cookie or getting less than 8 hours of sleep, is an act of violence. Even eating a cookie is an act of violence.
He's already dead now.
Exactly. Now, even we think that eating cookie is just an act of violence. That's why we offer it and then we eat it, right? But he's doing all those things, and there's a documentary on Netflix as well now. Don't waste your time watching it. Just bring the information out there. Now, just imagine, he says, it's his own words, I know that death is always inevitable. But I'm asking you this question, are we the first generation that won't die? So he's coming up with this whole formula that we're not going to die. And when he was asked, what is your inspiration? You know what did he say? I want to live for my son. I want to spend more time with him. So he's not spending his current time with him, thinking that he's going to live longer, and he thinks that he's going to spend all this time for his son. And the son is being interviewed as well, and the son says, we are very worried about him. And then jokingly he says, I really hope he doesn't die, because we haven't spent enough time. Right? So it is shocking. There are people out there, and it's not just one. I was looking for some examples, and historically, Michael Jackson was one of them. Historically, there are many others who are trying to prolong their life, and they think they're nearly successful. So he's about 45 or 46 or something, and his biological age at the moment is 37, and he thinks he's very successful. Right? It's funny. Now, same thing has happened to Amrita. Now, who's Amrita? So this is a pastime from a very long time ago. There was a small town on the banks of river Yamuna, and there lived a man called Amrita. Now, he was not anxious about anything in his life except death. Now, one day he had an idea, fantastic idea. What if I become friends with Yamaraj? So if I become friends with Yamaraj, I'll keep death at a distance. So he performs his various austerities. He meditates upon the Lord of Death, and then he's granted a vision where Lord Yamaraj appears. And Lord Yamaraj says, there are only 2 times when I actually appear in the vision of a person. When a person is dead, or when a person is almost about to die. So you are very fortunate that I have appeared into your vision. To which then Lord Yamaraj says, I don't have any control over death. You will have to die. So you can ask me for any benediction other than this. So then Amrita, though he's very smart, he's very intelligent. He says, as a token of my friendship, I ask you for this one favor. Yamaraj says, okay, go ahead. He says, if death is inevitable, then since I'm to die, at least let me know beforehand when my end is due. And then I'll be able to make proper provisions for my family. Now again, he's worried about his family. He's saying, just let me know and I'll make proper provisions. Lord Yamaraj says, yeah, that's pretty easy. It's a simple matter. I promise you that I'll inform you beforehand. But as soon as you receive the message, please get ready for this inevitable death. I'll come and you can do your preparations and then I'll take you. With these words, Lord Yamaraj vanished. Now years passed by. And now Amrita's hair is starting to turn grey. He continued living happily. Not a thought of death came to his mind. He enjoyed his sensual, he had his sensual pleasures. He did everything. He was, he's completely on the wrong track. Then many years passed by. He lost his teeth. Again, he's living happily with no warnings coming by. He's happily living. He's not dying anytime soon. Again, he's continues living the way he had with no changes in his life. Now, years roll by and Amrita's eyesight is lost. It's dim. Not lost, dim. Now again, old age is catching up, but he thought, I'm very grateful, my friend, Yamaraj has not appeared as yet, which means death is not, I'm not seeing that, it's not forthcoming as yet. By now, years pass again, and Amrita is an old man, he can hardly stand up, he cannot even walk properly, he always uses a stick, and one day he gets a stroke, he's completely paralyzed. His condition is critical. And Amrita is thinking, I'm so happy, Yamaraj has still not appeared, I'm paralyzed, but I'm still not dying. The thought of dying doesn't appear in his mind. Finally, the inevitable happens. Lord Yamaraj appears, enters the room. Amrita was startled. He was like, what's happening? Why is Yamaraj in the room? And Yamaraj says, my dear friend, come now, it's your time to go back. Amrita was trembling and he said, you have betrayed me, my dear friend. I had done all these austerities, you have promised me and you have betrayed me. And you never sent me any warning letter or anything that, that death is forthcoming. How could you deceive? How could you deceive? To which Yamaraj replied, your desire for pleasure has made you blind. How then could you not see the letters which I had sent you? Do you think I'm going to physically write the letter and send it to you that your death is inevitable? I'm not going to do that. The signs that I was sending was through the messenger time. Your hair turned grey. Your teeth were falling. It all fall down. You were walking, you were not able to stand straight. You were walking with a stick and finally you were paralyzed. I sent you 4 messages, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. I sent you 4 messages. At first when Yamaraj said, I sent you 4 messages, what did Amrita say? Maybe there's some problem with my post, I never received those letters. So again, but Yamaraj is explaining, I'm sending these messages through the mortal time, and time is my messenger. So Amrita cried, and what would Amrita do now? He said, give me one more chance. I now understand how you send the letters. Give me one more chance. Tell me next time I'm about to die. I'm not ready. I don't want to die now. And Yamaraj says, sorry, it's your time. He puts, he snoozes off his nose. The man gasps for air and he dies. And Amrita is dead. Right? So we have to understand, and Dhṛtarāṣṭra, Vidura is trying to explain Dhṛtarāṣṭra exactly the same thing, that death is inevitable. If you're not able to understand that by looking at people around you, it's high time you understand. So the only solace is that we have to take shelter. We have to understand that at the time of death, we will be in a helpless condition. In a bit, I'm going to talk about one of the Swamis as well, but we'll be in a helpless condition, and we have to reflect on the experiences that are by looking at the people around us, what's happening. Ante kale cha mam eva smarnam muktva kale varam. If you just remember Krishna at the time of death, we surely will attain Krishna. Therefore, if we are complacent, we won't prepare ourselves. We have to continuously prepare ourselves for the most serious event in our life. And it's all a matter of choice. It's all a matter of what choices are we making. We have to take the shelter of the holy name, srimadbhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada, our acharyas, and that's when we are actually making the correct choices. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, you know how the 6 children of Devaki were killed right in front of her. Who are these 6 children? They are Sadgarbhas. Vishwanath Chakravarti, I'm not going to get into the details of the story, but just to say that those 6 children were initially the children of Mataji, and they had gone through these curses and they received some boon. Anyways, it's a long story. But what does Mataji represent? Mataji represents the mind. What does the 6 children of Devaki who were killed represent? They represent lust, anger, envy, desire, illusion, and arrogance. And they all must be killed and purified so that, who was the 7th child? Lord Balaram. Who is Lord Balaram? Guru. So then the Guru prepares the ground for welcoming Krishna. And then the 8th son was born, who was Krishna. Who is Kamsa? Kamsa represents the fear of material existence. And who is Devaki? Devaki is the devotee. So Srila Prabhupada says in his own words, when a devotee has a healthy fear, so it's healthy fear of material existence represented by Kamsa, then a devotee takes shelter of Krishna. Through the instruction of the Guru, who is Baladeva, the original Guru. By taking shelter, then the 6 enemies of the mind are killed: lust, anger, pride, envy, greed, and illusion. Our fear of material existence, represented by Kamsa, is an impetus for us to take shelter, as Devaki did. And when these enemies are killed, then Krishna appears within our hearts and gives us full shelter forever. Right? There's a beautiful bhajan by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. It says, Manasa deho geho jo kichu mo arpilu tuha pade Nanda Kishore. So Nanda Kishore, I'm fully surrendering onto you. Manasa, I give you my mind. Deha, I give you my body. I surrender my body. I surrender my family. I surrender everything that I have got. I'm going to surrender them onto you. It's up to you what you want to do with it. And then he says, in the bhajan it goes on to say, Maro bhi rakho bijo ichha tohar Nitya dasa prati tuva adhikar. So, Marubi, so if you desire, kill me. Jo ichha tomar. Or if you desire, just keep me. Whatever is your desire. Nitya dasa prati tuva adhikar. You have full rights. You are my master. You do whatever you want with me. I surrender unto you. So with these parents, so this is surrender. With these bhajans, we can really understand the mood of our acharyas. And probably we can get inspiration from that mood. We just need to learn to take shelter. We just need to learn how to surrender. Because as soon as we go back to Godhead, Krishna is going to welcome us. He's going to embrace us. And everything in this world, our husband, our kids, our work, everything is going to become meaningless. Just imagine a situation where we are meeting Krishna. He's being embraced. We are being embraced. We see our gurus there. We are seeing everyone working for Krishna. Everything else is going to be just meaningless, isn't it? But if we keep on focusing in these things, we are really not a visionary. We had gone to Dubai just recently, and one of the things that we continuously, if you've been to Dubai, you really have to appreciate the infrastructure, the work they have done with the infrastructure there, the kind of buildings they have, the kind of visions they have. We always spoke about vision there. What vision these people have? What have they created? They have extended their islands. On the islands, they are creating a transparent ring. They have created a palm tree on the island, a land in the shape of palm tree. But then, if we deeply think, we read Bhāgavatam, and then we think, is that really the vision? The vision must be, as Radhanath Swami says, that we will be embraced by Krishna. We will be serving Krishna. We'll be at the lotus feet, maybe serving the servant of the servant of the servant. But imagine, everything else is going to be meaningless. Nothing is going to matter. So we have to study the great lives of our Vaishnavas who have left the world. And if we study them, we can really, when I was in college, we used to do those case study analysis. Study them as case studies. And we will, yesterday, Rajdeepika Mataji touched on the life of His Holiness Kadamakhanand Swami. And when I had found out that Guru Maharaj is about to leave, when he had declared it to the world, I started reading so much about Bhakti Tirtha Swami, because even he had cancer. And Bhakti Tirtha Swami's life, he teaches us how to die before dying. He's written many, many volumes of books on this. Die before dying. What does this mean? What does die before dying mean? What do you think it means?
To be prepared for that.
Yes. But how? What does it mean? Okay, you have to be prepared for death. But how does that practically apply?
Renounce everything.
Is it just about renunciation, though? Any other answers before I touch on that? How do we die before dying?
Actually, in his last class, when he gave the
Yes.
It's an amazing class, isn't it?
I was just listening to that on the way too. Yeah. So he talks about, now before I get into the class element, but he's written volumes of book upon dying, die before dying. I'll read a little thing from his book as well. But you have to, if you're talking about death and how to live, we have to study Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's life. Right? He was born to preach. When he was born, he used to stammer. He used to take about 4 minutes or 5 minutes to say a word. But when he was reading the Bible, he could just read it just like that. So people say he was born to preach. He was always a preacher. He was so intelligent, the best colleges were canvassing for him. The Princeton University, which is still a prestigious university, had given him an offer which no one could refuse. 4 years of free tuition, free living expenses, free food, free books, and a salary for a school-going boy, along with 2 round trips to his hometown, from Princeton to New Jersey. He was offered that. So he was studying that. He was very intelligent, the first African-American to actually create wonders. But who cut his heart? Who cut through the layers of different, cut through different layers and touched his heart was Srila Prabhupada. And that's how he joined the movement. It's a long story. I won't get into that. But he said that once he became a devotee, he was saying, once he went to Srila Prabhupada and he said, it really hurts me to see that there racism existing in this community, in our society. There is racism, there is prejudice in this moment. Do you know what Prabhupada told him? Prabhupada told him something that transformed his life. He said to him, if you are affected by these ignorant devotees, then how are you different from him? They are talking about you on the bodily concepts, of life. They're not talking about deeper stuff in life. So you are no different than him. Instead of saying, oh, I know, it happens, but get over it. No, Srila Prabhupada didn't say anything like that. He just cut straight through him and said, you are no different. It's all on the bodily platform. And towards the end of his life, when Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj was suffering from a melanoma cancer, and so it was a very painful situation for him, where he had used one leg amputated as well, so he was on one leg itself. But Bhakti-tirtha Swami used his life, used this disease as a vehicle to transform people's life. I remember we used to read from Die Before Dying, just before Guru Maharaj was going to leave this mortal world. All the disciples used to sit in a room and we used to read from the book Die Before Dying. And one of the things that I cannot take out of my head is, I don't exactly remember the words, but it was said there that Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj is being grateful and he's thanking whom? The cancer cells in his body. Imagine a person thanking the cancer cells. He's saying, I'm thankful to the cancer cells in my body. Sooner or later, even they are going to leave. Even they are going to die. And even I'm going to die. Our life is no different, or something on those lines. But he's thanking the cancer cells. And he's drawing drawing similarities between cancer cells. How they are going to die as well. How they are alive. And then he's saying, cancer cells have come into my body. And now they are listening to the Harekrishna Mahamantra. Even they will be delivered. When we are coughing, do we think like that? The virus has entered my body, the bacteria has entered my body, and I'm going to deliver them. We're trying to get rid of them. Just go away. But this is how Maharaj is thinking. Right now, just to tell you how painful the situation was, cancer had eaten most of his bones, and even he had a broken collarbone, and because he was so weak that he would do something and the bones would break. It was that weak. He had a broken collarbone, an amputated leg, tumors all over his body. Some of them were so big that you could see them. Tumor in his knee of the good leg, the other leg was gone obviously. Tumors in his chest. He was becoming he was obviously bedridden. It was so painful to see him in this situation externally. Internally, his consciousness was at a different level. Externally, we can see him going through so much pain. And now mind you, he was not even taking enough painkillers. He was just taking enough. Not enough. Anything that would affect the consciousness, he was not taking those painkillers. And Radhanath Swami happened to spend 7.5 weeks with Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj towards the end of his life. So only Radhanath Swami and the people who were taking care of him were allowed towards the end. So one day when Radhanath Swami was discussing the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna, all of a sudden Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj went into ecstasy and he just cried out, "We are there, Maharaj, we are there, we are there," and he smiled. Then Radhanath Swami asked, "Maharaj, where are we?" And he said, "We are there." Now please understand, he's on one leg, and the nurses and the hospice people are saying he's in excruciating pain. So for him to say those things is also a big deal. But now he's expressing his excitement. He's totally in ecstatic condition. And he says, "We are there." Again Radhanath Swami asked, "Where are we?" And he said, "We are living Chaitanya Charitamrita." We are not just talking Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Prabhupada's causeless mercy. We are literally in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? What is Chaitanya Charitamrita? Chaitanya Charitamrita is nothing but the loving pastimes of the Lord and the devotees. And Bhakti-tirtha Swami said, we are in those pastimes. We are living in those pastimes. So by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he was crying, the tears were flowing out of his eyes. And he just, every now and then he was yelling out. He had a vision and every now and then he was yelling, "Amazing, amazing, wonderful, wonderful." And then towards the end he said to Radhanath Swami that I would not trade my position that I am in today for anything else in this world. This is the greatest benediction. Then he said, "I'm so grateful." And that was the state of his consciousness. So I'm just drawing a contrast between the state of consciousness of Dhṛtarāṣṭra versus the state of consciousness of these Swamis, these sannyasis who have left. Now, before Bhakti-tirtha Swami, like Tamal Krishna Maharaj had also left, but we could not witness, we could not see his last stages of life because it was an accident. But through Bhakti Tirtha Swami, we were able to see, he was able to set an example of how to die through every step, because at every step he kept on his communication going, because he was one of those persons who said, just like Sakhiroy Prabhu, I want to die on the battlefield. That was his mood. I want to die on the battlefield. That was his mood. And then when he was completely bedridden, he used his death as a way to preach to the world, as a way to communicate the message to the world. So that was his state of consciousness. And then one time, I'm just going to share one more because I really love this one. Tamal Krishna Maharaj had appeared in his dreams, and there was a vision more than a dream. And he said there, Prabhupada is calling you. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj appears, he's already left the world. Said, Prabhupada is calling you, and you will have to come soon. You will have to give up everything and you will have to come soon. And he's got another service for you in another world. And this was very special because during Srila Prabhupada's life, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was the mediator person between Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. So again, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was mediating between Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Again, he comes through this vision. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj in the vision begins to cry. And he's crying profusely. And then Bhakti Tirtha Swami asked him, why are you crying? And with a choked voice, Tamal Krishna Maharaj replied. Now this is very emotional, but he says, because I know when Srila Prabhupada called me in the exact same way when I left to join him, I know how much pain it caused to my disciples, my friends and well-wishers. And I know when you respond to Prabhupada's calls, your friends, your disciples and your followers are going to suffer the exact same pain that mine went through, and I'm crying for your disciples. At least I cannot fathom the fact that even our sannyasis, our swamis, our gurus, even after leaving this world, they completely have an eye on us. That's why we say that Srila Prabhupada is always watching over us. It's not just a statement. It's not a statement with good words, but because he actually is. And if we really put our heart into it, we will experience his presence as well. I myself have experienced glimpses of Srila Prabhupada around me. When we really put our heart into it, we will be able to see him, we will be able to feel his presence. It's not just a statement. So even my Guru Maharaj, when he left, he said, I'm always going to be watching over you. So every time I'm chanting, that statement crosses my mind, like, okay, I better chant nicely because he's watching over me. In fact, it gets better. At first, to see your Guru, you have to go to a certain place, right? Now your Guru is always watching over you. So Srila Prabhupada is always watching over us. Just imagine that. So we are really in a good state where we can elevate our consciousness only by remembering that Srila Prabhupada is always watching over us. And if he's always watching over us, he's not just watching, he's also helping us. He's helping us in every little aspect of our life. He's helping us in fulfilling our spiritual desires. Right? He's helping us with everything. So again, back to dying before dying. We all have to learn to die before dying. And what does that mean? Just a little something from 6 volumes of, or even more volumes of books. I'm just going to read you 2 statements. In our lives as well, people may have cheated, disappointed, lied to us, manipulated us, abused us. When we reflect on each experiences like these, we tend to relive them again, right? When we go through, this person has done that to me, we relive them. Such experiences have shaped us in various ways. Many of these abusers and cheaters have traumatized us. We a lot of times says that we have carried these traumas from our birth or from our last life, from many, many lives. We are carrying these traumas. What happens when we are dying? At the time of death, what happens? Do we hold those grudges? Or we say, forgive, let's forget about it, let's forgive these people. Do we still say, oh, that person did this to me? Have you seen a person dying ever? He will forgive everything. He's emotional. Everyone wants to hear the words from a dying man because you feel like it's the truth that's going to come out. And that dying person himself will ask for forgiveness. Please forgive me if I've done anything wrong. Right? So what Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is trying to say is, we are going to forgive that person at that time of death. Why not forgive those people now? So that is dying before dying. We have to forgive those people now. After the person is died, we praise that person, right? When there is we assemble together. We always say good things about that person. Do we ever say that person did not do this service? We always glorify that person in those particular moments. Why not glorify that person now instead of waiting for that moment where he's going to die? So we got to glorify now, we got to forgive now, we need to forget now. So if we start to do all those things now, those 6 enemies that we spoke about earlier will have no place in our hearts. It's easier said than done, but at least we're making an endeavor. And then we have Srila Prabhupada watching over us, he'll take care of the rest. Isn't it? So we have to see death. We don't have to be scared of death. We have to be fearless. It's death, we have to see death as compared to a cat. For an ordinary person is like a mouse. But for a devotee, we are like a kitten. Cat is holding on to us. It's protecting us. But for an ordinary person, it's like a mouse. It's trying to kill. But for us, it's trying to protect us. Right? So every time you're struggling, we are going through material miseries, there are many solutions to them. Srila Prabhupada, one that I came across was, sit before the deities. Look at them. Radhanath Swami says, you don't have to smile at every person that enters the temple. Just look at the deities, spend time with them. At least me, I'm like looking around, smiling, oh, Hare Krishna, what's happening? But no, we have to spend time with the deities, talk to them, tell them about our problems, even if they are material problems. And then we'll see the healing will happen, the traumas will go away, forgiveness will be easier when we spend that time with those deities. So, Krishna is all we want, and all Krishna wants is our love. Right? And that is why Krishna, when he was physically present as well, he chose to spend time with Vidura. Then Duryodhan. Duryodhan gave him a grand welcome, gave him everything that one could desire for. But where did Krishna go and live? With Vidura. And Vidura was so much excited that instead of offering him bananas, he was offering him banana peels. But really, does Krishna want food, or Krishna wants that excitement, that love that's coming from us, that sincerity? That's what Krishna desire for. So, in this way, we have to appreciate that Krishna is only purchased by love, nothing else. Not by the best garlands, not by the best food, not by the best dressing, not by the best of everything. He's looking at our intention in every best thing that we're trying to do. That intention is more important. That's what he wants. So I'll just end the class. I think I've gone a bit over time, but I'll end the class with something to think about. This is what my Guru Maharaj had said. It was much before he had left, many years ago. And he said, death, something to think about. First question is, so there are a few questions. One is, what does Krishna want? So think about it. What am I doing? What am I doing to contribute to that? What am I contributing, or how am I contributing through my character and in my behavior? In other words, what am I contributing in my consciousness and through my actions? So if we ponder upon these things, then we can think about, will it be enough? Will I dedicate myself enough that when at the time of death comes, that I will really be anyabhilasheta shunyam, free from any other motivation. So when we answer those questions, we will see if we will be ready enough at the time death comes, that we will be free from all the other motives that we have in our life. Of course, time, place and circumstance is a completely different story, but these are the things we can ponder upon. And once we start to ponder upon these things, it will develop a spirit of fearlessness. And fearlessness is required. This fearlessness is required where we have to shift our focus and look at Krishna's interest, not my interest. Not what I am getting, but what am I giving. That is most important. So then Krishna will be pleased, and then what's going to happen is at the time of death is going to become a moment of great happiness. That's what's going to happen. I think with those few words, I was trying to establish parallels between the consciousness of Dhṛtarāṣṭra versus the parallels between the consciousness of the great acharyas who have left. We can study them as case studies, just study them, look at them, get inspiration from them. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is amazing. Like there's so many other things that we can talk about. We can just go on and on about him because he's documented every little thing, because it was his way of preaching to the world. People from all over the world used to come for his Sunday feast class before the last lecture was given that Prabhu was talking about. And in his last lecture, he's so clear about what's happening. He says very clearly in his last lecture that physically I should have gone a long time ago, but my subtle body has not given up. My subtle body along with the soul wants to preach, and that's what I'm going to do for the remainder of my time. So despite being in pain, because of his subtle body still not leaving, he was able to preach. And he was able to send those messages, okay, what's happening now, what's happening now. And I spoke about one or two of the visions that he had of the Harekrishna Maharaj. He had many others. It's very, very inspiring. Very, very inspiring. If you have that book, read that book. It's very beautiful. There's also the other book. Is it The Beggar? Right? The Beggar.
There's a series.
So yeah, there's a series of The Beggar as well. So very beautiful. He's written a lot. Very intelligent man. He talks about what kind of preaching we must do. What kind of preaching is very dangerous for us. He talks about all those things in his last lecture. So probably if it's a short class, it's like 45 minutes or something. Just hear you can easily find it on YouTube. Last class by Bhakti Tirtha Swami. With those little thoughts, I'll end today's class. But if you have anything to comment, ask questions, please, or share your thoughts. Anything.
Prabhu says Krishna doesn't want your ability, he wants your availability.
Yes. I love that.
So,
that is beautiful.
all he needs is, are we available to Krishna?
Yes.
Do we have the ability? Availability, no, doesn't matter.
Yes. That is nice. Actually, I gone to Dubai and Singapore, and I realized it's so easy to forget Krishna sometimes when you're in that sort of environment. It's easy to forget. Association is such a blessing. We have no idea of, each one of you sitting here right now to me are like jewels. Because association is a blessing to have. Otherwise it's easy to forget. Yeah, true. Anyone else?
Bhakti Tirtha Swami also mentioned that cancer cells and eye are like two boxers in a ring. Some days they win, some days I win.
Yes. It's on the same page. Yes, now that you say that, I remember that. Yes. Nice. Anybody else? Or did I scare you with the topic of death?
I was wondering, Mataji, why did some of our acharyas have to go through so much of pain before death? Like they were great Vaishnavas. They spent their entire life in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Why did they suffer so much before death?
Do you think we would have given them that much importance if they didn't go through those struggles? If they just died very nicely, we would have probably said, oh, it was easy for him to do that. So they set the example for us. Even we will go through those miseries. We have to go through those miseries, but that's setting an example for each one of us. Right? Like Prajadepika Mataji yesterday said, my Guru Maharaj was in a condition where he could barely say a word and he was still chanting. And Jayadvaita Swami, who is his Guru, said, it's okay if you don't chant. When Jayadvaita Maharaj talks about this, he's sobbing, but he says, I told him it's okay not to chant. You know what did he say? He said, don't take away that service from me. If I don't chant, my disciples won't chant. How can I ask them to chant? Now, if someone has set the standard so high, in that painful situation, then do we have any reason to complain about the little coughs and the colds and fever we have? Otherwise, I'll have fever and I'm going to say, I'm not going to chant today. So they do that to set the example. That's why Srila Prabhupada had to go through. He went through that to set the correct example for us. Anything else you would like?
Can I also add something? Because the consciousness is so high, for them, these bodily pains is not important. In many cases, Prabhupada used to complain also that yes, traveling is becoming difficult for me when he was close to like 80, 81. He said, but I still have to do it because that's a duty. So the purpose was higher than the pain. And we all know that to come here early in the morning is difficult, even a small thing. But the purpose is higher than the pain, so we come here. It's a very minuscule example in front of those things. And because the consciousness is so high, they're actually, feeling so much bliss from Krishna consciousness that this pain is very irrelevant. This is almost irrelevant, insignificant.
Like Bhakti Maharaj said that, I'm grateful, this is the greatest benediction. They don't see that as a disease or a pain. They see that as the greatest benediction.
I mean, even in our case, something simple. When we are in the kitchen cooking, it's difficult. But still we do it because of the satisfaction we get. You ask an outsider, in the heat, no one is going to eat, no one is going to cook, let's go out. But no, because we know the reward is so significant, then we undergo that austerity. And this question was asked to Bhakti Chadha Maharaj, that in the beginning days, how did you do all these things? How did you go through all these austerities? He said, that was no austerity, it was fun. It was more like fun than austerity, than what they went through in the younger days. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think my reflection is with this, when we are sick and all that, that one thing that I don't forget to do is my chanting. So it doesn't matter how sick or even if I'm coughing in 5 seconds, I still put my emphasis on my chanting. If I can't do anything else, chanting is the most important thing. That if I don't, it's like not, I haven't, breathed today or anything like that. It's like something that I need to do. So I think that it's like, for me, it's like a test. It's my tolerance, and it's teaching me how to be more resilient and how to, build myself, make me stronger. That if I can go through, if I can chant my 16 rounds even when I'm sick and I'm, bedridden or whatever it is, it still shows me that my connection to Krishna is still very strong. Nothing will waver that. So that's my reflection.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing. It's important to have a strong chanting. Anybody else? Okay, then Dhṛtarāṣṭra Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Have a blissful Sunday, everybody. Harekrishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
One thing I want to say after the recording is finished. Prabhupada, when we are reciting our these slokas, the system is that the Prabhu do first and